Hello and welcome back to the All In Podcast with Bad Beat Bryce and Ryan the Rock. How are you doing this fine Wednesday, Ryan?
I am doing so well, Bryce. I've got lots to look forward to tonight. We're playing some more 1-2 this evening. We had a fun session last time around, but I'm excited to. I forgot to port some hand histories out of Poker Bros before they went away, and I'm like, oh, I'm kicking myself over that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a fun hand where you value jammed marginal 2-pair into me on the river and you got paid. So maybe another week I can go back and find that hand. But that was a fun one. And the Zoom games we've been having have been awesome. Just giving people a chance to just chill and talk. And I think during a time of a global pandemic, it's good to just, while playing poker is awesome, just being able to chat to another human has been nice. So. Yeah, I've very much enjoyed those games, and we'll continue to do so.
Yeah. So I think we have a very interesting topic of conversation today, and this all began with a very particular video. So give me 1 second here.
So once again, we're talking about the match a little bit, but this is a very fun trolley interview. We're just going to introduce this podcast off with. So Ryan, you want to go ahead and play the clip?
The side, because apparently all we're going to talk about this whole challenge is luck. Can I be honest here? I think Daniel, I've played a lot of heads up in my life. I think that he has run one of the hottest of any opponent I ever played in my entire life. One of the hottest. I don't even think it's remotely close. I've had kings versus aces 3 times this challenge. I get stacked all over the place everywhere. I'm always in a shit spot. Most of the big pots I win are me making it like a hero call that's really tough. Or it's a bluff I get through, tons of those, or it's me just bobbing and weaving. And then I have a good hand, boom, boat over boat. The amount of luck Negreanu has had this challenge is so funny that his perception is completely warped. In his mind, the reason that he's getting unlucky is because when he loses, it feels unlucky. But that's because I have the edge. He has run unbelievably hot this challenge.
All right, let's talk about that. We should talk
so based on running the numbers, Daniel is running about 30K below expected value. And I think it's interesting because these two professionals are both just complaining and bitching about how they're both running bad. And it's really funny to see. And if you continue to watch that clip, Doug Polk actually just trolls the entire interview and goes through a bunch of different hands that Daniel played pretty poorly, and also that Doug didn't get lucky on, and broke down 10 to 15 hands of basically how Daniel has no right to complain about how he's running. And I think that Daniel has run below average in this challenge, but I do think Doug undoubtedly thus far has played better. And it's been awesome to see. We've talked about the transition and how just every single challenge and every single virtually hand, it seems like Daniel is learning. I mean, when you're playing an opponent for 2 months, a few times a week, you hope you're going to get better, especially when you have the support of your team with you. But I do think in Daniel's defense, he has run below average, but he absolutely is just complaining too much. and it's funny to see, because when we saw him with Poker Stars, people made fun of him for being this businessman. And now he just very much is just going around and calling people, I don't even want to say it on streams. He is just mentioning dicks a lot. It will leave it at that. But it's really funny. And what we wanted to discuss today is, obviously poker is a skill-based game, but we wanted to break down, and we have not yet shared our numbers, but what percentage of the game we perceive as to be luck and what percentage we perceive to be a skill. And I'm very interested into what number you came up with, Ryan, because we have not shared our numbers with each other. So do you want to begin with what numbers you would put out there?
Wow, it's like laying on, so you got to think about what you want to give. Wow, I want to say that it's 60-30 skill.
Oh my gosh!
But wow. I think I might be crazy to say that, especially in no limit. Maybe if pot limit Omaha, you might be able to make more of an argument for it being better than 50-50, because it's kind of 4-card PLO is hard to say it's solved, but no limit hold'em. Yes, there's some pretty serious luck to it. I like to hold myself to this crazy, like this higher standard that I make these mistakes. And I'm sure that our guest today is going to say there are certain things that are out of your control. And maybe by saying that percentage is so much in my control, maybe I'm wrong by saying that, and that I think too much of it is in my control. I did say 60. Oh, I did say 60.
I think you're nuts. And I can't wait to discuss. I was going to say 90-10 or 85-15. And me saying that is saying over the course of the long run, let's say you're multi-tabling and you're playing 10 tables an hour. Even if a few days of the week, 6 or 7 of those tables, you're just getting wrecked on, over the course of the long run, you absolutely should be printing money. And I think that I think you've been taking poker seriously for about year and a half now. And I think that you just haven't necessarily put in.
By no means super experienced, exactly.
Yeah. And I think there's just so many different variables. And I think that they were actually talking about this on the stream today, Rob Young and Joe Ingram, just like how it's not necessarily who's a better player. Part of it is who can get in a better game and who can get paid in those games. So while Sam Trickett is inarguably a better player than Rob Young, and he admitted that on stream today, he's like, Sam Trickett's better than me. Rob Young will get paid more because he plays looser, and also he might be able to get into these games because you're not going to invite, if we just talk about the movie Molly's Game, they're not just inviting these pros who have millions of dollars to play. They're hand selecting the fish to play in these games. So if you're not getting action, you might not get into these games. There's so many different factors. But basically, coming back to what we were talking about, I think that skill plays way more of a component than luck. If we think that it's 40% luck, the amount of professionals, like Doyle Brunson has been a professional poker player his whole life. You think he only has 2 losing years and you're putting it at 60%, 40%? I think that's crazy.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think even 85-15 might be. I think 90-10 is probably what I would say for the professional poker player who also, they must be adhering to proper BRM. If you're not adhering to BRM, your risk of ruin is way, way, way higher. And I think that percentage changes. But if you're adhering to good BRM, practicing good game selection, all that stuff, I really do think it comes down to 85-15 or 90-10. And I think this is a very fun discussion.
The argument is, especially if you have someone who for instance, like the Pokerpreneur who we had on the podcast previously, he has really good game selection. He plays a really nice game in Florida that he's just crushing. Go check him out. His Instagram stories, he's got great hand histories and stuff. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying because you should see just the trajectory of his graph and stuff. And even when he goes through downswings, they aren't so serious that it would be. Yeah, I get your argument why it's way more towards the skill than it is towards the luck. Yeah, I think I agree. I think I would lean more towards that end, the 85.
You can more. Yeah, even any given session, maybe if it's a tough lineup, you could maybe say, a good winning poker player wins 55% of each session, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the course of a long run, and I think when we look at the bigger picture, then luck just doesn't play a factor.
Totally
just
agree.
In casino games, you could be a winning blackjack or roulette player for 5 years in a row. But if you keep playing and if you play every single day, you're going to lose all of your money. That's what's going to happen.
The house will win. Yes, there is an edge in those games to that degree.
100%. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I like the argument that you made there.
Yeah, but before we go into our interview, make sure to go and watch that trolling video. Both of them have hilarious interviews. They both talk about how they're running so bad, and Doug just massively trolls Daniel, and it's amazing to watch. And make sure to just keep watching that challenge. It's fun. This session that's going on right now, I was watching right before this podcast, as well as the last one, so much more money, and they're so much deeper that the pots are getting massive, and they're playing less than marginal hands, and they're 4-betting wider, and it's just a ton of fun to watch. Make sure to go watch Joey Ingram's stream, even without the whole cards. Oh, also, last thing I'll mention before we go into our guest is I think that Doug Polk was needling Daniel in 2 days session. He was posting hands basically after they were over of what he had. And basically, he didn't have anything. He was showing king highs, 7 highs, and he was basically trying to tilt Daniel. If someone's telling Daniel during this match, I'm not sure, they probably are, but that Doug Polk is just bluffing so much. I'm not saying he's over bluffing necessarily, but he's trying to get into Daniel's head that I'm not lucky, buddy. I'm better than you. And I think that's hilarious. So go check out those tweets as well. But without further ado, if you have no more comments, feel free to welcome our amazing guests to the stream.
The one thing I'll say before we introduce the guests is please subscribe if you have not already. Like the video. Just click out of this, hit the like button, come back. I see there are a bunch of you right here, right now, actively watching this. If you want to hop in the chat and discuss things with us, we're looking at the chat actively. So if you want to hop in, we might just pop your comment on the screen or something. If you want to ask a question of the guest at some point, please feel free. Without further ado, this week on the All In Poker podcast, we are featuring our second international guest, joining us all the way from Romania. Zoltan Ince, the creator of The Poker Mindset, is a professional poker player, mindset coach, and part-time folk dancer. After surviving cancer in his early 20s, Zoltan was drawn to pursue his passion for poker full-time. Please be sure to check out the Poker Mindset website and Instagram page. We'll link both of them below. They have garnered tens of thousands of followers, all trying to build a strong mindset and achieve poker players' long-term goals. I'm excited to ask him about everything from content creation to poker to folk dancing. So without further ado, let's welcome Zoltan to the podcast.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Welcome.
Amazing introduction.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, I should say also good morning to you right now. What time is it in Romania?
Yeah, it's 2 a.m. right here.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Can't thank you enough for staying up late with us. The viewers can't thank you enough. That's awesome. Thank you for being here. I'll just open it up right here.
Okay.
So you've described kind of a shift in your passions now that this Instagram page has gotten so big, from grinding tables all day to also managing the Poker Mindset Instagram, which has almost 30,000 followers. So what are your goals for this year in regards to your social media presence, and how do you plan to get there?
Yeah, basically my number one goal is to be consistent. So I think that's the reason why my Instagram page was successful, because I was consistently posting and consistently creating good content. And this is my number one goal, to stay as consistent as possible. And like other longer term goals would be something like writing a longer book. So I have an ebook that's called 25 Poker Mindset Tips Every Player Should Know. And that's basically a very short ebook. And it consists my favorite quotes from what I posted to the Instagram. And the longer goal would be to start writing a bigger book, a longer version.
That's amazing.
Which maybe would be a paperback version as well of the book.
That's awesome. Yeah, and your Instagram really is aesthetically pleasing. I don't know if you noticed, Ryan, but it looks like it's formatted that the middle section always has a poker player and a quote, and then the lighter section looks like a lighter quote with something, and then the right a darker, and it just looks really cool. And not that many people, I think, structure it with that artistic touch, I think. And while the quotes are awesome, it also is just an aesthetically pleasing page. So definitely applaud you on that as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that is really
but yeah, check out that book. Absolutely. My next question for you, we mentioned it a little bit in our introduction, but do you think that surviving a life-threatening illness was a wake-up call that you needed to really pursue what makes you happy, as life really truly is short?
Yeah, basically, I don't know if it was needed, but it definitely was a huge wake-up call for me. So the whole story started when I was 21 years old, and I ran the marathon 2 days before the surgery. So I was in a really good physical shape, and I was going to the gym almost daily. I did felt a little bit that I'm more tired, but I did not realize that there could be a big problem. And after the surgery, the biopsy showed that I have cancer. And yeah, this was the closest I ever been to that, and it was very scary at 21 years old to face such a disease. And yes, it was a wake-up call, because yeah, for many people, obviously, it's a curse to have cancer. But as going to it and experiencing the whole journey, for me, it was much more of a blessing, because I did learn a couple of things that I realized that life has to be lived, and that I want to live my life on my own terms. So I don't want to have a job that I do not like, for example. That's why I figured out that I have to stick to poker and to play poker professionally, or do whatever else that I am passionate about. So yeah,
absolutely.
It was a wake-up call.
I respect that a lot. What are you saying, Ryan?
those passions have shifted over time. And so, how did you get to this area where you've now shifted more from poker to the mindset part? What really inspired you to go after the psychology side?
While I was in the hospital, I started reading lots of psychology books and business books, self-development books. And after I read around 100 of them, I felt this need to maybe share this knowledge or to inspire other people. And basically, this is why I started the poker mindset. I was not expecting that it will grow this big, but I wanted to maybe inspire a lot of poker players to pursue their dreams, to pursue this career because it's worth it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't think I've gone a single week without seeing your content. While I follow you, also just on stories. I mean, I follow hundreds of poker players, but it very much has blown up, and I expect it to continue to expand, and that's awesome. And congratulations on your success.
Thank you.
And so I got another one. So one of the key lessons of poker is learning to live with those disappointing sessions. So, while everyone deals with tilt differently, do you have any general tips or tricks that our audience can use to avoid losing their minds at the tables?
Yeah, let me think about it. Well, I would start with the warm-up, actually. So I do think that if you warm up before your session, you are much less likely to tilt, because you could be if you, for example, do some guided meditation before your session, you might get into your game a lot calmer and a lot more aware. So that could be a way to maybe prevent tilt. If you just rush into your session, I can easily imagine that in your first bad beat or in your first mistake, you're going to just start being angry and playing very badly. So that would be maybe one of the tips. And like another one, that you pretty much, if you want to be a poker player, you have to learn to lose, because losing is going to be inevitable. It's going to happen every single day. So if you can't handle those bad beats, and if you can move through those mistakes, then you're never really going to make it as a player.
100%. And I think we've touched on this, but also just like taking short breaks. Like a lot of good players just emphasize like taking 5-minute break every hour, which may sound like a lot, and I probably don't even do it that often. But whether it be to go to the bathroom or take a walk or grab a water or whatever that may be, just getting away from the poker table can definitely be beneficial, at least in my experience.
Yes, absolutely. And another thing, I do have a smartwatch which tells me to get up and move. So that simple thing could be so useful especially if you're an online player. You can just get up and maybe do like 10 push-ups or just move around your room, and that could improve your focus.
Not only is that good for your mental health, but that will save your back. Whether it be, poker players sitting down all day, definitely not great for the physical.
We're gonna have to try that on the Zoom game today. We're just gonna make everyone stand up every couple every
30 minutes, jumping jacks or push-ups or something. Let's do it.
Amazing.
But our next question is, what is the timeline and how quickly you see students show progress when working on their mindset? And the follow-up question is, do you have a favorite story of a student transformation that you saw through that you'd like to share?
So far, I did not really have a student that I worked with one-on-one. I only had like people who I helped through messages on Instagram. And like what helped them, I'm not sure if I can answer your question, because I don't know what timeline that.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I didn't know how much you gave generalized advice. I didn't know if you had students currently under you, but that answers the question.
No, not yet.
It's totally fine. So you've described the worst poker mindset mistake as knowing the probabilities of what might happen and not what will happen. And then people lose their minds when what might happen doesn't happen. So how do you help poker players overcome what they can't control? What Bryce and I were talking about earlier, when we were talking about heads up matches and people were just, oh, he's running good. He's running better than I am. How do you avoid letting that luck part of poker take control of your mindset?
Well, one of the things that also Jared Tendler says in his book, The Mental Game of Poker, is that in the short term, it could help you if you have some statements to inject logic. Like this comes in my mind that I do know that when I played, I was having problem with this. I did wrote things like accept, like a great poker player accepts bad beats or bad plays or downswings, and I had a good statement in front of me. So if I needed it, I could just look at it. But yeah, this is a short term. It's not going to help you in the long run.
It's like a mantra essentially. I personally I don't have one for poker, but for running, for example, I ran collegiately. I would just say in my head, fast is smooth and smooth is fast. And that would kind of help keep me relaxed. And also, I think that probably directly correlates to poker and what you're saying, just whether it be just even if it's as simple as stay present and don't tilt, if that's something that helps you, and that could probably be something that's useful. Do you have a personal mantra that you have used or that you tell students to use?
I actually have a list of 10 of my favorite.
Awesome. Hit us with one or two.
Yeah,
I do have it right here. So basically this can be something like this: to learn to handle disappointment. You can be a poker player if you don't. This could be just as simple as this. Or poker doesn't care what you think it's fair.
Very true. It couldn't care less.
Or one of my favorites is, and I don't know if you know Ben Shapiro.
Yes, absolutely.
And Ben Shapiro always says that facts don't care about your feelings.
Yes.
And I realized that I could rewrite this to poker, and it sounds like this: that there's nothing that's deserved in poker. Cards don't care about your feelings.
I think I've seen that quote on your page before, and it is very
one of my favorite quotes.
So what? Oh, sorry. I'll let you continue.
Okay. Poker is a very competitive game, and you have to be able to handle getting your butt kicked. So yeah, if you have these statements on your desk, you can just look at them, and it might be easier to fight that anger or that loss of motivation.
Thanks, Matt.
That's one of my old teammates, ironically, but yeah, no, those are definitely some awesome quotes, and it actually goes right into my next question. Who are your favorite poker players to watch, and who, if you had to say, has an amazing mindset that you have seen? Someone that comes to mind for me is Patrick Antonius. I've never seen that guy get visually upset, even when losing these massive, massive pots. And I was going to ask if you had a favorite quote that resonates with you that one of these players have said. So it's kind of a three-part question.
Okay, so the poker player who inspired me to get into poker is Daniel Negreanu. He's also, I think one of his parents is Romanian, or one of his grandparents, I'm not sure, but his name is Romanian. And he inspired me because I saw a compilation of hands on YouTube where he guessed exactly what his opponent has. And that inspired me to learn the game. So I wanted to be like him. And another player that really inspires me, and we would get back to the cancer story, is Doyle Brunson, because Doyle Brunson just recently, again, he I think had a little operation or something, so he got cancer, I think 6 or 7 times in his life. And the first time he had it at 28 years old. So that's why I can resonate so much with him. And yes, he has a quote, and that's actually the most liked quote on the page. I think I posted it 2 times, and the second time it got like 1,500 likes. Wow. So it's the absolute best quote, and people really, really love it. And I can actually read it because I have it here. It goes like this: that after I had the cancer operation, where I wasn't expected to live, when I came out of the hospital, I decided I was going to play poker, do what I wanted to do the rest of my life. That's when I made the turning point to be a professional player. I was 28. I had just got married. I was considering going back into the real world and getting the real job. And after surviving cancer happened, I just decided that life's too short. I was going to do what I wanted to do. So
That's almost exactly what you said.
Yeah, right.
A few words
yes.
there I can interchange. That's almost exactly what you said. That's
Yes.
incredible. I actually didn't know that story about Doyle. I didn't realize that I didn't realize he had cancer that many times. And B, I didn't realize he'd had cancer that young.
Yes, I did because I knew it was a very similar story in the sense that him being sick really was a wake up call for him and being like, I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want to do and I'm gonna be happy and I don't care what anyone else thinks, because I've heard him just talk about how he did get a lot of crap from some people in his life in the decision to go pro, which I'm sure a lot of people get that. It's not an easy decision. And a lot of people going to work and losing money is a foreign concept. And a lot of families and friends aren't necessarily supportive. And instead of when you go broke, them saying, I'm there for you, they say, I told you so. And I think that's a really negative and toxic mindset. And I think part of that is them just being too scared to follow their own dreams. And I think a lot of people don't pursue what they're passionate about just because media and their upbringing and the socialization of being told that a 9-to-5 job is the right thing to do. But I very much respect your decision. I respect Doyle's decision. And I think those are some amazing quotes that deserve some well-liked fame on Instagram.
Appreciation.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I've got one completely off-topic question. And just out of pure curiosity, how did you get into folk dancing? And are you still able to do some dancing despite the pandemic?
Yeah, I got into folk dancing. Like a lot of my classmates were dancing, and I was pretty much making fun of them that they are going to folk dancing. And then one day, my father talked to the dance teacher, and he told me that the dance teacher told him that maybe he should take me as well to the folk dancing classes. And yes, I went. I was obviously very bad at the beginning. My father also asked the teacher that, is there any chance that I'm ever going to be good at this? And I did not give up. I kept trying, and then I somehow became very, very good, let's say.
Nice.
Sounds like a lot of people with poker. They're just thrown in and they suck, and then they're like, oh, it's kind of fun, and they get good.
Yeah, you gotta lose some money in the process, but you'll figure it out.
Yeah, and in the last period, during the pandemic, we did not really dance. I think we did not have like a dance with the whole group for like a year. So we did some online challenges. So we did film ourselves at home dancing, but we did not have like a show for a full year.
Wow.
But we are hoping that this is going to change.
Yeah, I hope so too. It just sounds like a lot of fun, to be honest with you. I was checking out a couple of pictures on your personal Instagram. It looks like a lot of fun.
Yes, it is.
It really does. I think that wraps up most of the questions. Do you have any closing thoughts for us, Ryan, before we go into the hand history portion?
No, I think I'm good. We really appreciate you staying up till 2 a.m. to do this interview with us.
Yes, absolutely.
How much we thank you for doing this.
It's no problem.
And really, we're looking forward to see a lot more of this content on your Instagram page and your website as well. The blogs and posts on there, that's really interesting stuff.
Absolutely. Make sure to follow him on Instagram. And thank you so much again for coming on. We look forward to seeing more of your content, and get some rest.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. Have a good night. I definitely cut him off again.
You always do that.
I always do that. I feel like they're done, and then they're just not. But thank you again for coming on the podcast. You were a blast. Yeah, we'll just wait for Ryan to. Wow, he's got it ready,
dude.
But we've got the plug. Use BadV20 or Ryan Rock 20 for 20% off merch. Very much appreciate the people who watch us, and we want to give you guys a discount. But without further ado, let's get into these hands. This is a viewer submission. I believe, is this live or is this online?
Live 2-5 game at the Win.
Got you. All right. So Hero's got King 5 suited in the small blind.
Hero says that the table is like, I put 1500 for general stack, but people are a little bit deeper. We are later into the night, And he said that what happens here with all of this limping that's occurring was pretty rare, and that almost every pot was an open race pot. So when it was limp to him, with the exception of 2 folds under the gun and the button, that it was kind of a weird spot he hadn't been in before.
Yeah. So I'm interesting. Okay. I actually figured he was going to raise based on the comments that you said, that he said, but I don't necessarily love out of the small blind, just bumping it up to like 45 and getting a few callers. That would not be a fun place to be. Very much would like to do this with a little better of hands, whether it be King 10 suited, King Jack suited.
What about
but yeah, Ace 5 suited, absolutely.
Yeah,
I was more saying the marginal hands that we would look to do this with. But yeah, so I'm assuming big blind just checks.
He also said that he liked this limp here because the big blind is a tighter player. He thought he would lean towards a check. Or
Gotcha.
He'd be able to play easily against a raise.
Makes sense.
So this is an interesting.
Oh, I know what hand this is. I've seen this hand.
Should we ever lead out here in a limped pot when we flop trips like this?
I think the answer is absolutely no, and I think it furthers the fact that it's a rainbow board. What do we expect to call us? I think the answer is basically nothing. Like 6s plus probably are going to be raising it up pre. Deuces through 4s are just not even going to want to mess with this hand, and they're just done with it unless we bet like $5, which is just stupid.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking to check this 99% of the time.
And Hero does opt to check. Checks to our original limper, who bets 25 into 55.
How afraid of this bet are you when he bets nearly pot into so many players? When he just decided to limp pre-flop.
I honestly don't know what to take this for. You know, like I was having this conversation with myself. I was like, oh, does this under the gun player have strong hands in their limping range? And, you know, maybe a 2-5 reg limps aces once in a while under the gun or under the gun 1, but I don't think they're limping queens.
I don't think you're not often, at least they shouldn't be, no.
Right.
And if you have aces here, which you don't bet 25 on this board, and even if he has a 5, even like 6-5, 7-5, this is too big of a bet. Even a hand like Queen 6, I feel like can fold. And that might sound crazy folding top pair, but when you're early position and you're just leading near pot, with Queen 6, what do you expect to improve? You expect to smash another queen? That's playing a pretty hefty price to hit that. If you have a backdoor flush draw of some sort, like if you have we have the 5 of clubs, so no one can really even have that. So yeah, I think that he's pretty heavily weighted towards a 5 here, and he can't have quads. So we're only really afraid of Queen 5 and Ace 5, I think, at this point. Let's see what the action is, but I'm not folding trips on this flop to this bet, but I think that's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Flat call from the hijack, a little worrisome, but I think they are weighted towards a lot of queens, whether it be Queen 10, Queen Jack offsuit, something like that.
Right.
Queen Jack. Okay. Yeah. So we're just gonna put in the flat here. Big blind's probably gonna fold, and let's see how the turn plays out. Okay. I actually think this isn't the worst card in the world. Obviously, we'd prefer a king or we'd prefer a club, but I don't expect under the gun 1 to be betting quite 25 with 4-5. While you have trips, I don't think you want to go that big. I would go like 10 to 20 max. I would probably like to go 15. I would probably go half pot, considering there's 6 people in the hand, and a queen's going to call, any 5's going to call. I mean, it depends how strong your 5 is, but
right.
Yeah, so I'm assuming Hero just checks again, considering under the gun 1 showed such strength and hijack called. I think that is the correct move. He bets 100 into 105, is that right?
Yeah, he did. He bet 100 and 105.
Okay, let's see what the hijack does. Hijack's probably going to let it go, probably going to let go. Okay, wow. Again, I don't think you can fold this.
Right.
But I actually think on the river we're going to be folding this most of the time. Depending on what they do. I mean, if they bomb the river, I think they're especially considering the hijacks in the hand too, I think they're weighted towards Ace 5 or Queen 5. I don't know what they're barreling this massively with. If you have a hand like 7-5 and you got 2 callers on the flop when you almost pot it, you're not going to just barrel turn. So I think he has a ton of boats or just like Ace 5 here. So I don't know. Can you really fold here some percentage of the time? I think the answer is no, because a king can still make us nutted, and Queen 5 probably is not going to get away from it. So I think we have to call here, especially considering we have so many big blinds left behind.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
I expect us to get away from this on the river a lot, especially considering how much strength he has. But I don't think we can fold here. I don't.
Hero opts to put in the raise.
I don't think that's even an option, and I honestly hate it. He potted flop and he potted turn. What hands do we think he's doing this with? Do you think he could be doing this with Jack 5, 10 5, 9 5, 8 5? I don't think he's going that big. And if he does, he's gonna fold. So what we're doing is we are figuring out whether we have the best hand or not, but we're not getting any value by doing so. So this is kind of like I think I might be good, but like you don't want to bet like that. That is not how we bet in poker to make money. So while we might think we're good here sometimes, I actually think we're not good here most of the time. So putting in a raise, I agree. I actually think ace 5 I mean, queen 5 is possible, queen 5 suited limp, but that's pretty damn loose. And considering he said there wasn't much limping going on, I actually completely agree with our viewer. And I'm most afraid of ace 5. But considering there's another caller, what does this guy have? Do we think he's just calling with king queen? Because this didn't even bring on another flush draw. So I'm very interested into what the hijack has, but I think under the gun 1 here has the best hand. And I hate a raise here, especially a massive raise. And I wonder if under the gun's going to call or put in a raise. Let's see what happens. I don't think we're going to win this hand.
Under the gun 1.
I am incorrect. Under the gun 1 folds. Let's see what the hijack does.
And the hijack rips it in our face.
Snap fold.
That's, and that's what's interesting is I feel like on its face, you're like, oh, I got trips with the second best kicker. Like, how can I fold here?
Rainbow board and like, look at the action. And it's a limped pot. There's so many factors. And I don't even think I fully processed this hand. I honestly think I answered this hand history when I was drunk. And in 2 seconds, I said, this is a fold. I said fold. And he's like, yeah, I agree. I ran this hand through a few people and they all said fold. I think he later said to villain, I think you had ace 5. And the villain kind of sort of nodded. I actually think he is more likely to have queen 5 here than ace 5 when he rips it in. I think he probably flats with ace 5. I don't really see the merit for jamming considering there's no draws available. And if we're doing this with 6-7 and calling off, we're a donkey. And he can flat and keep our bluffing. We really don't have that many bluffs. We just have worse 5s here. So I don't even know what I'm talking about. At the end of the day, we're not good here virtually ever unless we're just playing the biggest donkey ever who has, I can't even name a hand. Jack 5?
It's way overvaluing itself. It's like it has nothing to defend against.
Like 1% of the time, like
on the river.
We're not good here. We have to fold, and I hate the turn raise. I think that the viewer submission kind of realizes that it was a bad turn raise in what it sounded like they texted out to us. But I don't love the way we played this hand. I think you could have saved yourself $275 by calling this turn, checking the river. He bets massively and we fold. So I think you could have lost $200 on this hand instead of $480. But yeah, I mean, it happens. Limped pots, a lot of things can happen.
And he did fold, so he does avoid going broke in the limped pot.
If we win broke here, I would be very upset for this.
Yeah,
hand.
Exactly. Okay.
But I think this was a good hand to review, and I think that it once again cements the concept that we don't want to do feeler raises, especially when we don't think a worse hand is going to call us. And in this scenario, I do not see any worse hand calling us. Even ace 5, I would consider a fold here. I would consider it. When what do we think the other players have?
The top here is it's wicked strong.
Yeah, it is. It's
I agree.
Especially in the action. Yeah,
Don't I think the pots, kids.
Yeah, ever.
Bottom line here. Next hand, we are in a phase tournament. I don't know what that means, but that's okay. We're at 2K, 4K blinds. We're not super duper deep. We had a low jack raise.
A phase tournament is played in sections. You can choose from different starting phases that play at different times and then combine later in the final leg of the event. Phase tournaments allow you to start a tournament at a time that better suits for you. So this kind of sounds like the main event where there's multiple day 1As or whatever.
Nice. Okay.
Actually, I don't know.
Probably a bigger tournament with multiple days. I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
So here we are, one big blind to call with king 9 suited. It is perfectly standard to put in the flat here. I don't think there's really much to discuss. You shouldn't be folding king 9 suited here, I think.
I don't look to raise this very often because it's from the low jack. If it was from the cutoff or button, you could do it sometimes. But
a lot of worse king X suited here too. I might even call with all my king X suited here.
Interesting. I guess that's fine. King deuce, king 7,
king 3. Yeah, maybe king 4 cut off here. But yeah, I think you're calling with almost all your suited.
I agree. The vast majority. You should be looking in the call. You're getting an amazing price. I'm assuming it goes check, bet.
It does go check. Check.
Interesting. Let's see if we hit a king or a spade. I wonder what makes this hand interesting. Okay.
The old
considering there's no, I was gonna say we check. I was gonna say we check again. I assume the small blind to just check. Did he bet 13 into 24? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 13 to 24.
I don't love this spot. I actually think we're behind the vast majority of the time. But with that said, we're getting a pretty decent price, and I flick in a call here.
Yeah. And I think when you call here, low jack's going to get out of the way after they check and being the aggressor. So I think
I think he's weighted towards ace deuce, ace 4, ace 3, ace 5s here. Obviously, he could have some ace 7s, ace 8s, ace 9s that are looking for some protection. But I think he has a ton of aces when he bets this. I mean, we can't just weight him just towards aces. He could have sets and stuff that also just want to put some money in the pot. But yeah, I think it looks fairly strong, and I think we're behind. But
right. In terms of
I think it's fine to call. Range. Yeah. If he just barrels pot here, I think we can just easily fold.
Yeah. 0 puts in the call. Fold there.
Interesting.
Ooh, okay.
That's a really interesting card.
So before we see what he bets, what size are you calling here?
I honestly have to see the sizing. I don't necessarily follow if they bet exactly this or bet exactly this, or if they polarize. I think I need to see the sizing before I even get there. And I'm not really much of a field player. Oh God, that's such a good sizing. That is the sizing that scares me the most, and I love it. Because if he just bombs like 40K, like what the hell are you repping that you think's getting called? I'm more likely to call 40K than 27.5. Actually, that's not true. I'm not calling 40K. But this is a little scary, and I think I fold. The only thing that I think we beat is if he happened to have a hand like 6-3 suited or king 6 or king 3 that got counterfeit. I think that's honestly his only bluffs that he should be making here. It's a rainbow board. It's a rainbow board that was raised not very large pre-flop. It was min raised, called from the small blind. His range is pretty wide, and I don't think he's value betting like king 5 here ever. So I think the only bluffs that he has that would make something that looks like a strong bet on the turn is a hand like king 6, 6-3, king 3 that got counterfeit. And I think he has more aces than we do, and we're just flatting out of the big blind. So I don't think that's actually a bad bluff candidate for him, because I think he can get us to fold all of our 6s, all of our 3s, and most of our kings. Yeah. If I had a hand like king, queen, king, jack here, I mean, I like the call a little more, obviously, but I think I fold. And maybe that's a little nitty, but I don't see, considering this is a rainbow board on the turn, there's not that many draws available that brick. And I think the only thing that turns their hand into a bluff is I actually think 6-3. I don't know if king 3, king 6 turns their hand into a bluff because they have showdown value and they block the hands that you might potentially call with. So if you have the other king in the deck, he blocks that by having a king. Yeah. So I actually think he can check that some percentage of the time and go to showdown. So I think this is pretty weighted towards value. And that's my analysis, and I lean towards a fold, and I'm interested in your logic.
I'd also say, I mean, if you're going to give him as wide as like, you said king 6 and king 3 suited, then I think you can also give him some combinations of 4-5 that if you think he's a really, this is a key point about how much you know about this player.
I think a king is a very difficult card to bluff 4-5 on. If it's virtually if it's not a king or a queen or another like high card that also brings another draw, I think that you would have more merit. But for just 4-5 and drawing to a 7 or a deuce, do we really think he's just going to barrel this again? I mean,
yeah,
I think yes. I just that is another available bluff that I didn't mention. Right. I absolutely appreciate bringing it up, but I think he's more value heavy here. Do you agree with that?
And that's the point, is that I agree.
Yeah. Okay. I'm assuming we fold this hand. I hope he calls so we find out what he had.
Hero actually didn't mention what he did. He just said, what would you do here? And I think we've all agreed that this is a fold.
Yeah. He said 2 pair aces and kings. Is that what? Oh, that's what we have. I'm an idiot. I'm so sorry. Got you. I thought that was somehow a showdown hand, even though the hand was not showed down yet. But all right, we have one more hand for you guys. Make sure to submit some more hands. I got like not many this week, where we got like 30 or 35 the week before. So I'm sure you guys are still grinding the online streets. Some of you guys are grinding with me tonight. So if you have some interesting spots, make sure to get that screenshot. And even if it's a text, email, DM, Telegram, whatever you want to do, I'll see it.
I don't care. Get it our way.
Exactly. We'll review it, and if we like it, we'll put it on. Yeah. And also, if you do want your name to be shared, we're more than happy to share it. We lean towards being anonymous because some people, whether it be their job, whether it be whatever, kind of going on a tangent here. But yeah, if you want your name on the podcast,
we'll put it there.
Yeah. All right. So we got the good old ace king suited.
Big slick, big papa. Here it is. Raising it up to 15 at 1-3. This is pretty standard for a lot of places. MGM at National Harbor, 15 is like the minimum raise size, right?
Not necessarily. I'll go a little smaller when late position. If I'm on the button, I might make it like 12, 13, whatever. But yeah, 15 is pretty standard.
From the big blind. Not okay.
Pretty damn good flop.
Yeah. We're definitely betting for value here. And what are we looking to size? I believe, we're going to get checked too. We should get checked for some time here. I think a reasonable sizing would be probably just exactly half pot again. Maybe even
not half pot. Half pot's way too big. Okay. Half pot is way too big. It's not a suited board. While there are some draws available, the draws that he might have, whether it be king, queen, jack, queen, if these are suited hands, he at some percentage of the time could raise it up. We don't expect him to have ace 10 even that often. So the only hand that beats us is ace 5. We want to target weaker aces. We expect most 10s to call us, but I think a sizing of like 30% is. I would go 25 to 30 here. I think 50 is massive on this board. If it was suited, I think 40 to 45% is fine, but I think 50% heads up is too big.
Yeah.
But yeah,
also, the third card being like an 8 would have made it like ace 10 8.
Oh, 100%. I agree. 100%.
I agree. Okay.
Yeah. But 50 is too big, I think, for a rainbow board. And when it's under the gun 2 against big blind.
Right.
We go half pot. I think it's too big. I don't think this would be a hand history if this opponent doesn't at least call. So let's see what they decide to do.
Opponent doesn't call.
A jack. Not the best card in the world. Obviously, opponent has way more 10 jacks than us. And I don't expect opponent to have too many king queens, although king queen off is obviously a hand they could have. But we have a ton of king queens too, and we have a ton of ace 10s, ace jacks, etc. So I look to bet this card again, and it brought in a flush draw. And again, any queen or any king puts a 4-liner to the straight. So I do look to size up now on this turn, assuming villain checks it to us. And I think anywhere from 65 to 85% of the pot is fine. I personally would probably elect to go about 75% of the pot here. But I also am known for sizing up a little bit and putting money in the pot. So,
and Hero does opt to do exactly what you've asked. I think 50 is fine. Exactly. I think you can go anywhere from 75% up to full pot on this turn.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Good. I'm glad he flatted. If he raised, we would be in a little.
Yeah, we're much more unhappy. No spade in hand. Okay.
I think I've seen this hand.
Okay.
I didn't realize it was just Nova MGM poker.
I'm not sure.
Interesting. Okay, let's see. Does opponent check or bet?
Oh, he just rips it. Oh God. Oh no. So does he have backdoor spades here? What backdoor
Sometimes.
spades does he have? Because we don't block the ace of spades, so he can have
Any five, 5, 6 suited, 4, 5 suited. Obviously, that's pretty fairly loose in the big blinds, but not impossible. That's the thing, though. It's so interesting because what are we putting him on that just floats the flop? Do we expect a hand like King 9 suited to just float the flop with backdoor equity? I don't think so. Because we decided to size so large, I think they're kind of a lunatic if they just float this flop with King 9 suited. So I think pair plus flush draw is what makes sense. And I don't expect him to have that many aces, because if he had a hand like ace, I mean, if he had an ace 7 to ace 9 of spades is the only nutted hand that makes a ton of sense. But do we think villain jams a king? Do we think villain jams King 10, King 5?
Right. And I think that's the real question.
I think the answer is absolutely yes.
Yeah.
And I think that we are too top of range to fold this. And I think the way it played out, and I think our sizing on the flop, if we elected to go the sizings that I actually typically use here, if we went like 25% pot, you can float here sometimes being so damn deep with a King 9 suited or something. But I don't think you can do that when opponent who raises under the gun 2 makes it half pot on the flop. So while the villain can have some spade combos, I think the spade combos we're really afraid of are 5, 6 of spades, 5, 7 of spades, 4, 5 of spades, which are some combos, absolutely. But I still think villain jams most of his kings here. And if he has a key blocker, if he has a hand like ace 5 off with the ace of spades, this is a play he can make. So I think we have to put in the call here. I am scared and I don't love it. And against some opponents, I could think about folding. But if we're folding this, what are we calling with? Because if we're calling with a set, villain is not jamming 2-pair here. He's an absolute donkey if he's jamming 2-pair here. So I actually think actually a set of aces is different because that would block the spades. But if we had a set of 10s, and ace king is pretty similar here. Basically, we're just afraid of the flush because straight we chop against. I don't know what the heck I just said because we have a straight. So
right, we chop against.
I'm just take back whatever comment I just said. But I'm putting in the call here.
Because that's the thing is like I hate the spot because we're supposed to have the nut advantage here as under the gun 2 is the opener, and like that sucks. Like we're supposed to be the one who's supposed to be able to bluff here and rep having ace king of spades. And
do you think? I actually think the issue is we're calling a lot of the time to chop. So we're calling to get our money back, which is scary. But I'm not gonna just punt my $80 when I think most of the time he doesn't have a flush here. And I think that's what we need to consider. And I think also the fact that he has ace of spades that can turn their hands into a bluff, that had ace 10, ace 5, whatever it may be, we can still win this pot outright. And if I thought there was no chance of that, I may consider a fold. But I think there are available bluffs that he has. And as played, I think you just have to call.
Okay. I like it. I think we don't have a villain action again on this one. So we don't really know what happens here, which is upsetting. I am really curious. I really want to know what the big blind had there.
I'll be sure to ask them. Please comment on the video, whether it be live or whether it be after the fact for the people who don't watch live. What would you do? I think this is definitely the most interesting hand of the podcast today. And I don't think there is necessarily a straightforward answer, but I personally think you need to be calling here the vast majority of the time, unless you picked up some read or you've had 10 years of experience with this player or something of that nature, and you just know they're nutted here all the time.
Right.
But I think considering the way the hand played itself, I flick in the call. I think we're too top of range, and that's our analysis for the day.
Perfect.
Last thing I say before I sign off is I've gotten a decent amount of DMs basically just thanking us for the podcast, and a lot of people who tell us whether it's on their drive or whether they just even if you're listening passively, people really appreciate our hand histories, and some people have expressed surprise at the quality of guests that we've been able to bring on, and we'll be able to bring on even bigger guests if you guys share with your friends, continue to like and comment, make sure you're subscribed. We very much appreciate all of your support, and as we grow as a channel, we won't forget about you guys. We'll do some more merch drops, all that good stuff, and continue to send in your hands. We very much appreciate it, and the show would not be possible without you guys. Thank you again to Poker Mindset for coming on. We will put that in the description, and I'm sure you guys have seen his content and will continue to see his content. Ryan, do you have any closing thoughts before I go kick your ass in 1-2?
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think we're going to go sign off. We're going to go play some 1-2, and we will see you guys here next week.
Sounds good.
Everybody.